Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the third episode of the Wealthy Wellbeing podcast, where I give tips and information on how to make habit based changes to your lifestyle that produce a happier, healthier lifestyle without requiring significant restrictions. My name is Zach Bush. I will be your guide through this. I will be your coach through this. I will be your support system through this. I appreciate you listening and jumping on. And what I'm not here to do is give you fad diet changes or counting macros, but habit based tips and ways to improve your lifestyle, fit it in with your busy lifestyle, and make sure that you are living a more satisfied and healthy life for the long term. The previous two episodes, we talked about clarity. We talked about support systems, right? Those are the two of the three legs of the stool, right? Stool needs three legs to stay stable. So this is the last one, which will be about mindset today. And all three of these will be the foundation for your journey into health and fitness and really a lot of areas of life, whether that is starting a new business or getting into real estate investing. So super important, right? We haven't talked about anything nutrition wise. We haven't talked anything about sleep. We haven't talked about exercise at all. So, right, building those foundational blocks will help improve the chance of success, improve the journey as you go through it. And so I hope that you get something out of today. Again, I'm talking about mindset, how you think. If you haven't yet, you can subscribe onto Spotify. The first two episodes are uploaded on there. I have my YouTube channel. You can jump onto that as well and follow along, right? You can, if you're not live, totally cool. We can listen to a little bit quicker, a little 2 times speed. That's usually what I listen to my podcast at. I also want to apologize for missing last week. I was fighting off a cold, sinus infection, stomach bug, all three over the last 2 weeks. So finally feeling better, still dealing with some remnants of it, but we're back to the gym. We're back to doing all the stuff that we need to do. But I was just in survival mode for a little while. So that was fun. I appreciate you coming on. So like I mentioned today, we are talking about mindset, the importance of mindset in achieving your fitness goals or really any goals in life, discussing how cultivating that positive and resilient mindset can enhance that fitness journey, and some strategies on overcoming some of those mindset issues, those mental barriers to help stay motivated and stay on the path of well-being. And that's, again, can extend from health and fitness to real estate, to starting a business, to starting a new job, anything like that. Mindset is going to be the key. And so, when we talk about mindset, what is mindset, right? It's those beliefs that you have, those thoughts that shape how you sense the world and also yourself, right? The way that you think influences the way that you feel. If you've ever woken up one day and gotten ready and just everything felt great, like you were just in a good mood and happy for whatever reason, right? Maybe something great happened the day before, or just one of those times where you wake up, felt well rested, and everything's going great. And notice what those thoughts start to feel like, how they happen, right? They're positive. Everything great that's happening to you feels wonderful. Like you have such a sense of like gratitude towards that, and it continues to build, right? With those positive thoughts that also continue to build that positive feeling. It works the same way in the opposite way, where if you've ever woken up just on the wrong side of the bed, just not in a good mood, every little thing that happens creates more of a negative thought process. And what does that do? Those negative thoughts start creating more negative feelings, and so on and so forth. And it kind of digs you into that rabbit hole. And so the way that we think influences the way that we feel, and the way that we feel will also influence the way that we think. So they go hand in hand. And, the problem with thoughts, they can have such a positive or negative effect on our actions. And Also, the problem with that is those thoughts are always with us. We can't get away from them. We are always in our own head. Whereas with food, we might not always have that immediate access to, those french fries or that candy or anything else that we know we shouldn't be eating, but we do anyway. So imagine walking around, bag full of candy or sweets or whatever does it for you, and just randomly just always having it accessible, right? If you always had that with you, it would be so much easier just to pop it in your mouth, eat it, and then, get that quick little burst of sugar or whatever it is, and, feel good. That's what those thoughts are. They're always with you. There's no way to escape it. So it's figuring out how to work with those thoughts. And our lives tend to move in the direction of our strongest thoughts. So what we think most consistently, what we think of, whether it is positive or negative, we're going to go down that way, where our lives are going to move that way. So if you're more positive or always positive, things around you will typically at least appear more positive, and you'll typically be in a better mood. So we want to be aware of those thoughts. What are we thinking? What are we saying to ourselves? And it might be active. It might be what you're actively thinking of. Maybe you're meditating or you're doing a gratitude journal, right? So you're actively thinking about those things, but it's also those random thoughts that pop into your head, and being aware of those thoughts. Then they're not always positive. They're not always negative either, but just being aware when they randomly pop in, how does it make you feel? How do you react to them? And how can we take steps to change those thoughts or words so that they can be more positive and can be more empowering? And those thoughts are based on two different mindsets. And if you've ever read the book Mindset, a pretty obvious self-explanatory title, it's all about mindset, by Carol Dweck, she talks about, fixed versus growth mindset. And that's going to be super important in having the distinction between the two. You can pretty quickly pick out somebody who's got one mindset versus the other, right? That fixed mindset is that believing that your inherent traits, your inherent abilities, you're born with them, they're unchangeable, right? So having that fixed mindset leads to having that fear of failure or a reluctance to take a risk on new things, because they think that that's just how it is and they can't change it. For example, fail math test, right? I failed that test just because I'm not good at math, right? Maybe I didn't study at all, and that's why. But somebody who's got a fixed mindset thinks that they failed at something because they're not good at it, or doesn't come naturally to them. But maybe there is another reason. And that's where the growth mindset comes in, believing that you can change those abilities, those talents, through effort, through perseverance, through being aware. And having a growth mindset leads to a more willingness to embrace those challenges, learn from your mistakes, and to continuously improve. So there's a significant difference between the two, right? One might take a little bit more effort of being aware, and by being aware, you can be more proactive with those thoughts. And the fixed mindset is just kind of a lazy way of moving on, just being like, all right, well, it's not me, or it's not my fault because that's just how I am. And it's not, maybe even if you are aware of it, just knowing that you have to do extra work on it to fix it. And having a growth mindset allows you to be more open to those risks, taking those chances, because you know that if you do fail at it, it's not because of something you inherently are, it's because of another reason, and you can learn from it for each thing that you do, whether that, is as simple as taking a math test, or if it's starting a new job, or if you're at a job and you make a mistake, or you don't pick something up and miss a deadline. And it's not necessarily because of how you are, but it's how you can react to it and learn from it and take those mistakes and get better from it and grow as a person. So mentally, and updating your thoughts on that specific situation, so that way you don't find yourself in it again, right? Typically people with a fixed mindset will run into the same things, right? Making the same mistakes or seeing the same issues, same failures happen again. they're not learning from it and they're not trying to grow from it. So focusing on growing from those things each and every time you come across it. So going from that, right? How to be more positive. Positive thinking. There's a couple ways that we can shift those thoughts. One thing is just changing our positive thinking, and that's by doing thinking gratitude. And I've recently started, thanks to a recommendation from someone, is a 5-minute journal. It's literally a journal that you can buy off Amazon. It's like $20, and it goes through. It's meant to be short, right? It's 5 minutes. So you do an activity in the morning and you do an activity at night, and it helps with that mindset because in the morning it starts with gratitude. 3 things that you are grateful for in your life. And, you know, they're supposed to be unique between the three. And then as you go on through the day, right? You're doing it every day. So 365 times three, I don't know what that is, but it's a lot of things that you'll go through to be grateful for, over 1,000, right? So it starts your day off with thinking, what do I currently have that I can appreciate? And so it starts your day off in that positive mindset. So then as you go through the day, you know you're going to have to write it again the next morning. Subconsciously, you're thinking, what am I grateful for? What good things are happening to me? So you start off your day immediately with those 3 good things. And it can be as simple as, hey, I am happy that I have a roof over my head, or I am happy that I have all 10 fingers and they function perfectly fine, right? It sounds kind of silly. And even me, like I struggle kind of getting over that simplicity of it. But even just starting with something simple as that will help set the tone for the rest of the day. And like I said, you will start to notice more things that you can be grateful for as you go throughout the day because you know you're going to need to write it down. And so by writing those things down, you increase your happiness, you increase your resiliency, you increase your overall well being. And just like before, your thoughts influence how you feel. So by starting off with those happy thoughts, will influence those happy feelings and will snowball throughout the rest of the day. In addition to that, it talks about 3 things, the journal, 3 things that would make today a great day. All right. What is it? And it should be things that you can be in control of because you're not in control of everything. So, if you say, hey, I want to take my dog for a walk at lunchtime, I want to, get this one thing done. I want to spend quality time with my wife and my son for an hour today. And then I want to read a chapter in my book. Perfect. Now I know, again, subconsciously throughout the day, I want to do those things. And if I get those 3 things done, I'm going to be happier each time I do those things, right? So I'll take the dog for a walk at lunch. Awesome. Like I feel great. Like awesome. That was one of the 3 things that I wanted to get done. It's just going to put you in that better mood. It's going to make you more productive and help you do the things that you might not want to do down the road, whether that is go to the gym or, meal prep and put that lunch together, that dinner together for the next day. So those kind of activities as part of that journal, which I highly recommend you get, right? 5 minutes, right? Like 3 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes at night. Super easy. You don't have to think about what prompt you're going to write. Using that to start your day for me has been really great. I've been doing it for about a week or so and have seen some positive feelings throughout the day from it, and still learning how to do it and still kind of working through the gratitude portion of it because a lot of the same stuff keeps popping up, but it kind of lets you dig a little bit. So what we generate by doing this stuff, positive thinking to develop those positive feelings. And, the negative thinking, negative feelings can be selfish in a way because it, you know, inclines that you're a failure because you're staying in that mental rut. And, so I think focusing on your happiness and your positive thinking will help other people around you. And if you focus on other people's happiness as well, you won't be focused on potentially the negative stuff going on with you. So generate happiness for other people, generate happiness for yourself, and that will create those positive thoughts and then snowball into that positive feeling throughout the day. So, as you're going through the day, right, we talked about how your thoughts are always with you. You can't escape them, unfortunately. So what can we do throughout the day to fix those thoughts or to be aware of those thoughts and to start modifying those thoughts so they are more positive so we can feel better about ourselves, about what we're doing, which will build that motivation, build our momentum into living a healthier life. So, self-talk, right? A book I read recently is literally called "What to Say When You Talk to Yourself." Was a really good book because they talk about the impact that what you say to yourself and how it affects you throughout the day. Right? You have those constant thoughts in your head over and over, and you sometimes either repeat the same thought or take a thought and go to the extreme and just dig further and further and further when it may or may not be true. Another good book is called Soundtracks by John Acuff. So the premise of that is that you have these constant thoughts in your head. So those soundtracks that play over and over your head, right? If you've ever had a song get stuck in your head, will not leave over and over and over again. Those are those thoughts. Most of the time, for whatever reason, I know for me, they can. And so how do we get ourselves out of that, right? Maybe we're aware of it and it's like, now what? I don't know what to do. I don't know how to get away from those negative thoughts. And so a couple of things that he recommends in that book is what to ask yourself, right? What can you do when this happens? So ask yourself, is this thought absolutely true, right? Am I overthinking something? And if it's not true at all, then we can remove it, right? If it's not helping us at all, just remove it, right? It's just our mind playing tricks on us for whatever reason that thought pops into our head. So we just need to say, ask ourselves a question, addressing it, making us aware of it, and then removing that soundtrack. Another way we can go is asking, hey, is this kind or is this helpful, right? Is this thought that just popped in my head? Am I being kind to myself? Am I being helpful to myself? Maybe it's helpful, but not very kind, right? Think about would you say it to your mom or to your significant other. We don't want to be unkind to someone else, so why should we be unkind to ourselves? Or vice versa, right? Maybe it's um, unkind, but also helpful. So there's a balance, but I think just being aware of it and asking yourself those couple of questions, we can take that, identify it, and then reframe the thought. What do we want to believe instead? Right. So going through that exercise will help us be aware and help start changing those soundtracks. And you can take that newly framed thought and start repeating that over and over again, right? Maybe that reoccurring thought that you ask yourself, is this helpful? Is it true? And whenever that pops in, your new soundtrack of what am I going to say to myself? And so, like, for example, if you're working through something new, right? I'm working through, real estate and going through it. And, I go through and analyze a deal and, put in an offer and, it gets rejected. And I go, I'm not good at this. Like, I can't do this. And so it's like, okay, is this absolutely true? Let's think back. Okay. I've closed a handful of deals. I own a property. So probably not true. Like, I know something. I know enough to at least get a couple properties here. So, okay, we can remove that, right? Is it kind? Like, would I say somebody, hey, you don't know what you're doing, right? No. And is it helpful? Me telling myself that I don't know what I'm doing, is that helping anybody? No, right? It's just a reaction to somebody rejecting me. And so that's a mindset thing that I have to work through and like, okay, who cares, right? It doesn't work for me. They're upset about it. Even if they're not, like, they can, doesn't affect me. So now what can I say? All right, you know, they got rejected. They rejected my offer. And I go, okay, cool. We'll move on to the next one. And I analyzed it. I know what I'm doing and I will move on to the next one. So every time from then on, when I inevitably get that initial reaction of, I don't know what I'm doing, I can reframe that. Okay, go through those same questions. Nope, I know what I'm doing. It's okay. Move on to the next one. Okay. And I think that exercise takes time, just like any other new journey, right? It takes time to build a business. It takes time to build those foundational habits for health and fitness, right? You don't get a six pack abs in a month. It takes time. And everybody starts from a different starting point, especially with mindset. And that applies to mindset. And some people are really quick to adjust and be aware and change those soundtracks. And some people it takes a little bit of time. I know for me, it takes me a while. I live in my head, I live in the emotions of it. Also, part of the problem, and you can ask my mom, is that I keep everything kind of boxed in. And, trying to work on being open and communicating more, communicating my feelings more, right? That'll make me more aware of them. It'll make people close to me aware of them, right? Like my wife, and have them help me update those soundtracks. So it doesn't have to be a solo effort either, right? If we have your accountability partner group, like we talked about last time, using them to bounce ideas off of and say, hey, here's how I'm feeling, and have them tell you, like, hey, why are you being so mean to yourself? How can we adjust what you're saying? And I think that's super important to do as well. And a lot of times those negative thoughts come from limiting beliefs, what we believe we can not do for whatever reason. And again, that comes back to the fixed mindset. I can't do it because of XYZ. I was born this way. I'm not good at it, whatever. Um, and they hold us back, those limiting beliefs, from taking that risk and taking the effort and even taking the action to do what we know we need to do to get somewhere. Example I have for limiting beliefs is, years ago there's a competition in the summer at my gym. It's a CrossFit competition, and it's a team competition, and it's huge. It's one of the biggest in the area, and it was teams of six. There was 40, 50 teams there, so 300 athletes. Like it was a big thing. All day event, and it was run and started by another coach at our gym, and you know he'd been running it for, I don't know, 7 years, something like that. And I think he was just like, oh, one day you'll take it over, one day you'll take it over. And I just remember thinking there, like, there's no way I could ever do this. I couldn't program the workouts for everything. I couldn't organize something to this scale. And, I didn't really have a specific reason on why I thought that. It seemed like a lot of work, a lot of I was still kind of new to coaching, and programming was like, I don't really know. I think I would program too much or not right, like whatever it was. I just couldn't trust myself. I didn't believe in myself that I could do it, right? So those limiting beliefs were like, no, I'll never do it. So like I just brushed it off, like, oh, I'll just never run this competition. And so years go by, COVID happens, the competition has to be put on pause for a little while. And, the guy, the coach who was running it before, he's got two younger kids. He's like, I just don't, like, it's a lot of time and effort. And, it's just not something that fits in the cards right now. And like, we wanted to do it. The gym wanted to do it. I was like being a part of it as an athlete and, as a judge. And so I just took it on. And for whatever reason, I was like, yeah, sure, that's fine. Like, I had a couple more years experience, but I still was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. I've never done anything like this before. And so I just pushed past those, right? It's that mindset of, all right, let me give it a try. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I have the support system that I need, right? I have the owners of the gym. I have the guy who ran it before. He's like, if you need help with anything, let me know. I'm more than happy to, like, programming, like, whatever. He didn't have the time to do the work. And awesome. Like, cool. I had that support system. And that's why that support system that we talked about last time is so important, because you can reach out to that support system and help you. So limiting beliefs and mindset, right? Again, lean on your support. And so I did that. And we went through the first 2 years of the competition, started 2022, 23. Last year we had 50 teams. We had 200 athletes, 100 judges, we had vendors. Like, second year in a row, like, everything went great. Everybody loved it. Great positive feedback. So I'm not saying this like, look at me, look at how great I did, right? But I pushed through those limiting beliefs. I used my support system. I changed how I thought about myself and about certain things, and took a chance on something and turned something successful, right? And had a lot of fun doing it. I would have never seen what I could do or seen the fun that I could have without pushing through those limiting beliefs, changing my thought process on how I wanted to get something done, or that I wanted to get something done, and just focused on, what do I need to do? Who can I reach out to help me with? And positively, just whenever something happens, like, oh, I don't know how to handle this, like, okay, get rid of the old thought. What's the new and how can I reframe it and build on that? And so, I use as an example of saying like this new fitness journey, you might not know what to do. It might be overwhelming. You might think you can't do it. Oh, there's no way I can work out 3 days a week or 4 days a week. There's no way I can't lift heavy weights, or I can't run a lot, or I don't know what to make for meals. I don't know how to cook. I'm not a good cook, right? And so taking those and focusing on one thing, how can we change and rephrase that thought into I am going to learn how to cook, or I can figure out how to cook, or I am a good cook, right? Those affirmations to help you start believing in yourself and being able to push through those limited beliefs and creating that positive momentum, which creates those positive feelings and just continues to build. And, as you go through this new process, maybe you find some success, right? Like the competition, we're going into our third year and it's been successful the last 2 years. There's always a chance that something goes wrong, but I know that now I can plan it and lean on my support. And as long as everything is set up, it'll be good. But there's still that level of imposter syndrome, which is another component of mindset that can creep in and make things difficult. So, as I'm going and planning on the third year that I'm running this, like I start to think that maybe I'm not able to do it. And eventually people are going to figure out that maybe I don't know what I'm doing, right? I think I've proved at this point that I do, but still, even after 2 years of success with it, it still pops into your head and still pops into my head. And that happens with a lot of new things and even things that you've been doing for a while, right? Imposter syndrome starts happening when you've been doing it. And, you think that maybe you've just gotten lucky. So as you go through this fitness journey, not letting that imposter syndrome thought start popping into your head. Like, hey, yeah, I've lost some weight, but like, I haven't really done anything. Like, yeah, I'm drinking more water and I'm, added some veggies. Maybe I'm, drinking one night less a week, but like, I haven't really done anything, but I've lost some weight, right? Maybe people are going to figure out that I don't really know what I'm doing. And that thought might pop in your head. And how do you figure out how to address that, right? And again, it goes back to that reframing, recognizing it, asking yourself those couple of questions. Is this true? Probably not. Is this kind? Probably not. All right, what can we slot inside of that instead of, I got lucky. What can we slot in? All right, I put in the work. I drank more water. I did this. I did that. So we want to use mindset as a mental tool to help maintain that physical discipline, and not physical in like you're exercising, but physical in that you're continuing to do the work that you need to do to get to that end goal, right? So, you know, and as part of that imposter syndrome, you have to start, just identifying with that person who is doing the thing, right? If you're trying to be more fit, someone who is fitter will not grab that cookie from the break room or that snack from the break room or eat pizza every night, right? They're going to, order some salad or ignore the cookie and grab some veggies or something, right? They're going to do certain things as opposed to somebody who is less fit and who doesn't care about their fitness, and that's fine. They can do that, but just if you start identifying as somebody who does the thing, that'll help with that imposter syndrome and just trusting that you're doing the right thing as you go. And again, reframing those thoughts. Another portion of mindset is comparing. And the quote is comparison is a thief of joy. Once you start comparing yourself to somebody else, right, you start focusing on them and not on you and where you are. You don't know what that other person has done to get where they are. Maybe they're putting in a ton of extra work, or maybe it's taken them 2 or 3 years to get there. And I think nowadays with social media and Facebook and Instagram, those comparisons are easier to make, and people are only posting their wins and not necessarily the work that it takes to get there. I've always respected people who on social media talk about the wins, right? You want some motivation from those people, but Also about the setbacks that happen. Not everything is great and not everything is easy. There's days that that I struggle going to the gym. There's days that other fit people, they struggle go to the gym, but they do it anyway. And when you start comparing yourself to somebody who lifts all the time and you're like, why am I not lifting like them? Like, you have to think about it and be like, you're not seeing the full picture. There's the image in our gym. It's an iceberg, and it's an iceberg. 80% of it's under the water, and like at the top of it, it's like success and achievement and all that stuff, and at the bottom, it's like perseverance, hard work, like work, pushing through, demotivation, pushing through, like failures, all that stuff. So it's like all of this stuff that you don't see under the surface, and all you see is the little top 10%. So when you start comparing, think about all the stuff that happened at the bottom that were negative, that were they able to overcome. And so when you are struggling with something, know that that's part of that 80, 90% that most people don't see and that you have to push through. And when those happen, remembering to look back on why are you doing this and leaning on your support system to help change how you're thinking about those failures and those setbacks. And the other thing too, when it comes to comparison, is usually when you're comparing, you're thinking about how far away you are from somebody else. But do you ever look at where you were before, or you don't look down on somebody else because they're behind you, right? You're only looking forward. So why don't we not look ahead if we're not looking behind either? And what that leads to as well is celebrating that progress and success. When you start comparing yourself to somebody else and be like, I'm not where they are, you can also start saying, well, I'm not where I want to be yet. I had this target by this date. I'm at that date and I'm not there yet. And that's also a comparison within yourself is negative too, because you may be in a better spot. And a great book on that is The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. And what that book discusses is how you view your progress. And this will help with those positive thoughts and that mindset, because he talks about the gap, comparing where are you now with where you want to be. I wanted to lose 10 pounds by March 1st, and I've only lost 4 pounds by it's February 25th. So it's like, oh, I still have 6 pounds to go in 4 or 5 days. So that's looking at it negatively, right? Negative thoughts, negative feelings, more negative thoughts. Where he says that we should start comparing ourselves to the gain. All right. So looking back on where we were. So, hey, I only lost 4 pounds out of the 10 that were my goal, but I've lost 4 pounds. And not only that, I'm going to the gym 3 days a week. I'm eating out one day less a week. I'm making my lunches every day at work. And that will be more motivating because it's positive. It's shifting how you're viewing it from negative, oh, I'm so far away from my goal, to positive, look at how far I've come. And by shifting that perspective, it will be more motivating to look at where you've come and where you've developed over the time period, even if it's not ending up at your end goal. And with mindset, we want to focus on how can we create the most positive thoughts to create the most positive feelings and allow us to make those decisions that are typically hard, the unmotivated times, easier to continue to move forward. The happier they are, the more positive we can be as we move through improving health, improving fitness, and again, even outside of health and fitness, how can we improve our thoughts as we build our new business or start this new career or start this new promotion, whatever it is. All of this can be applied to all areas of life to create a better overall well-being. So as we come to the end of the episode, I always want to make sure that we can leave with some action steps. So to recap, as we kind of come to the close on the foundational portion, what are the action steps that we've talked about so far? So episode 1, we talked about clarity, figuring out what is your why, what exactly you're hoping to accomplish, and making sure that we write it down and put it in a spot that we can see it, or at least be able to reference it quickly and easily, because we want to see our goal and keep that available as that motivation may decline. So, considering where are you now and what is something that you can start implementing today to move towards where you want to go. And that might be as simple as getting to bed a half an hour earlier every night or drinking an extra glass of water. What can we start doing there? So that was the first one. The second one is the support system. So because your support system, the people closest to you will have an impact on, what your actions are. Want to list those five closest people. It doesn't actually need to be physical closeness, but just relationship closeness. Who do you talk to the most? Who do you stay in communication with? And consider each person and how they have an effect on you. Right? Do they have a positive mindset? How do they make you feel when you're feeling kind of down on yourself? What kind of core values do they have? Are they similar to yours? Is it somebody that would hold you accountable? And is it somebody that might also be interested in going on this journey with you? And if they're not, starting the journey with you, is it somebody that would support you throughout the journey? And then, so let's go to action steps from this episode pertaining to mindset. And a lot of it is going to be keeping aware when something happens, whether that's some decision that you have to make or an unexpected event that happened, or maybe you're stressed over something. Notice your thoughts and the resulting feelings from those thoughts. And this can be done with a journal or on your notes app, whatever. And does it turn negative immediately? Does that make you angry? What do you start saying to yourself? What do you say throughout the rest of the day to yourself? Does it just ruin the rest of your day? And you can even just stop there. You don't necessarily need to work on changing it, like changing those soundtracks, but just start noticing and being more of aware of it. And what we can do too is I would recommend getting the 5-minute journal because that's a structured way to do it. But every morning, write down one thing that you want to do that day that will move you towards your next goal, whether that's add a glass of water or get to bed at a certain time. And that will get you subconsciously thinking throughout the day. If I just achieve this one thing, if I get it done early, maybe that sets the tone for the rest of the day. And then at night, before you go to bed, highlight of the day. What happened that was super positive? And it can be related to your goal. It can be related to the one thing that you wanted to get done in the morning, but just one thing good that happened throughout the day. There's got to be something, even if you have to think about it for a little bit, right? Maybe it was a really rough day, but I walked for 20 minutes. Even if your goal is walk for 30 minutes, hey, I walked for 20 minutes and I'm super happy about that. Again, just trying to focus on the positive thoughts, positive feelings, and developing those to help keep the momentum going and just helping to feel better overall. So, if you need any help with anything, if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram, on Facebook. I will have this episode uploaded to YouTube and Spotify shortly. And yeah, if you need help with anything, just reach out. I appreciate everybody hopping on and can't wait to talk to you next week.